Welcome, everyone, to Touching Base. I'm your host, Eric Arnold. Tonight, I'm joined by my friends Andy Enck, Andrew Naw, and Joe Olson, and we are going to be presenting to you our very own prediction for the NFL Draft. Gentlemen, we usually get together once a week and try to share a beer together. During this time we've been away. So I'm going to ask you guys, as always, first question: what are we drinking tonight?
I'm going with the Voodoos again. You do that voodoo.
I got the Summer Shandy.
I have an unsponsored and generic cough drop due to the obscenely high pollen count in my region of Maryland at this particular time. So unfortunately, I'm not drinking anything.
That's okay. We expect you to do twice as much next week. I myself am going with a purple monkey over here. It's a chocolate peanut butter porter. And it's by the Evil Genius Beer Company, and it is delicious so far. So, gentlemen, we are doing our very first mock draft. I've never participated in anything besides essentially a fantasy draft, and I'm hoping this goes well. We essentially agreed before the show that we were each assigned teams evenly. We also made sure that we all got our hometown team. So I'll be getting the Washington football team. Enck, you'll be getting the Detroit Lions. No, you'll be getting the New York Jets, and Joe, you will be getting your Minnesota Vikings. And we're going to be going through this pretty systematically. The only thing we know is since we have several teams that we're representing, we want to make sure that it's fair and we cannot trade amongst ourselves to make sure we ensure one team gets favors, or I guess, what's the word? Favoritism. I speak for a living. And the other owners would essentially have to approve the trade. So it'd have to get a 2/3 vote to make sure it went through from the other owners. Are you guys clear kind of with those? We are allowed to trade players. We are allowed to trade future picks. Anything you think could happen or you want to happen, this is your time as a GM. We kind of said that we think this will most likely be some sort of blend of what's going to happen. If we feel like you want to make a trade, yell, shout it out, ring, ring, call that owner. But as of right now, the very first pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Joe Olson, Jacksonville is on the clock. Tough decision. You're coming your way, I'm sure.
That was my drum roll, but probably very few certainties in life besides death and taxes. But this number one pick, I'll just save everybody the suspense, is going to go to Trevor Lawrence.
What a surprise.
Certain number one pick since Andrew Luck, a couple others before him, but let's just go Trevor Lawrence to go with Urban Meyer, turn that franchise around, make that franchise relevant for hopefully the next 10 years. So Trevor Lawrence, let's just get it over with. You're number one. It'll be like that on Thursday night too.
Yeah. And if I'm one of these other teams and I'm looking around, I'm immediately calling for Gardner Minshew. Just to see like his availability is. But as of right now, we're not there yet. We're going to wait and see what happens. But I do have a couple teams that might be interested in that. No real major surprise. So we'll let the fans celebrate for a minute. But we've got to move on to the Jets. And this is really where it seems like these next couple picks is going to kind of determine what happens. So I'm curious to see. New York Jets, you are on the clock.
Yeah, so another case of not a lot of speculation left to make. With all of the recent kind of shuffling around with San Francisco, with Philadelphia, two teams with a lot of connections to the New York Jets. While I don't know that the Jets organization is running around advertising to their friends over beers, on Zoom, what their draft picks are going to be, but I feel pretty confident that, Joe Douglas and his connections to Philadelphia, Robert Saleh, connections out west. I think it's pretty obvious that the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson out of BYU. The Storm and Mormon, as it were.
Yeah.
I worry about the level of competition he would have faced, but he's got a slight frame, makes me a little bit nervous too. But
now you're the first one to pick your fan, like be kind of a fan of of the team you're picking for. I'm just asking you, are you happy with that pick?
I'm not unhappy with it. I like it better than Fields. I like it better than Lance. Obviously, I was more upset at the first Jets win this year than I think probably at any loss I'd ever been upset at.
I texted you right after and I remember like, what are they doing? You know?
Yeah, but he's got a lot of moxie. He's got a lot of tools. My hope is that the McDaniels, whichever McDaniels brothers, Mike McDaniels, I believe, has the brings over the right components of the Shanahan offense, of that West Coast offense, and they'll fly.
All right, fair enough. Speaking of Shanahan, the 49ers are next on the clock. And Mr. Enck, there's a lot of speculation with this pick. You were the GM of the 49ers. You are on the clock.
Well, they surprisingly need a quarterback again. I feel it's one of the needs here, and it's a storied franchise with a lot of quarterback history.
They traded a lot of picks to get up to that spot.
They did. And I think between Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields, those guys are what's left. And I really feel they're going to reach and go to Mac Jones, and having the Alabama background really be a strong suit for him to be able to come into San Fran and take care of business.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, this is kind of where like things start to fall apart. Mac Jones, apparently Shanahan is in love with him. I don't know if that's true. Apparently there's some organizational rumors that the organization's putting pressure on him to select Lance. I don't foresee them. I don't see him falling to the pressure, not when he's grown up with, around football his entire life. He knows what he wants. He saw what happened in Washington when he was there, when they start making the picks for him. I imagine he's going to get the guy he wants, and it sounds like that person is Mac Jones. Now, I am representing the Atlanta Falcons, and I am staring at my phone, praying that someone calls. And the reason why I say that is because they have so much cap issues that's going to be happening. They have a good quarterback who I wouldn't say is realistic to trade unless he asks for it, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. And they also have a ton of needs, happening with that team. So I'm going to stare at my phone for a second to see if anybody rings the phone before I make my decision. Okay. 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 All right. Fair enough. I was curious to see what would happen. Nothing's going to happen, it looks like. So if that's the case, they have so many needs on defense. They have needs on offense. And I was really hoping that they could trade back and try to get some more picks. However, I think the safest pick that they can make in this is they're going to select Sewell out of Oregon and go ahead and take him to protect Matt Ryan at least for one more year.
You're going to protect your future quarterback as well. Penei Sewell's only 21 years old, I believe.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was looking at Pitts as an option as well, to kind of be my Tony Gonzalez, because I really think he's got that kind of potential. But I just couldn't pull the trigger on it, and I don't think they're going to quite pull a quarterback there going that way in a row. I don't see that happening. I do think they're going to trade out of that pick, though, just so everyone's aware. Next up on the clock, Joe, back around to you. You were the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow is coming back.
Let's hope so. I think that was interesting, and I do think that the Falcons will move that pick, and I think that this real pick will end up depending on what happens with that fourth pick on draft night. But I'm going to go with just who I believe to be the best position or the best player in the entire draft. I'm going to go Kyle Pitts here out of Florida. Yeah. I think that, if Penei Sewell's off the board for Joe Burrow, I know they have offensive line needs too, but he also could use more weapons with AJ Green departing and everything. Let's go best player probably overall, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, another weapon for Joe Burrow.
That could be a dangerous duo for years, by the way. Like I really like Joe Burrow. And putting him and Pitts together really could change that team around. So I'm familiar. I think that's a fair deal. Now the Dolphins look like they're up next. Now, and they got a couple picks in this draft, and they have some needs as well.
Hey Denver, what are you doing?
Yeah, who is in charge of Denver? Are you in charge of Denver?
That's possible.
No, Joe, you were in charge of Denver.
No, I'm just thinking in terms of quarterback needy teams. I think the Dolphins kind of got screwed by Sewell going that late, and I agree with what everybody said so far. I think 4 is very much in flux for that fourth quarterback now. Kyle Pitts is just like a sensational player to have overall. So good job by Joe taking him to Cincinnati.
A lot of mocks have him falling. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. He's too good of an athlete, and he's just like a matchup nightmare. I think this is a really nice spot for Miami to move down to look at target an offensive lineman, preferably a tackle. They just moved Eric Flowers today, talking about kicking one of their the Washington football team talking about kicking one of their existing tackles inside, so they'd be kind of in targeting probably one of the tackle positions and get some good value later on and pick up some other capital. For the sake of the draft and the sake of the exercise and not to go on for much longer, I'm going to choose another just really good overall player and a guy that's just going to do some really awesome things with the ball. Just go Jamar Chase, LSU. Just dialing in that Miami LSU connection. This probably should do better than that in terms of justification, but Miami's done okay with LSU receivers in the past.
Yeah, the Tua household celebrates mightily right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're hoping something happens. Now there is some depth at offensive line. It seems like in this draft overall, in depth at probably linebacker, I think it looks like, and wide receiver. But they probably get the best one in the entire draft, and that's not a bad thing. All right, picking for his hometown team, the Lions. Andy Enck, you've got some options here. I also imagine you might be getting some phone calls if you're probably from Chicago.
Ring.
Up there. Okay, here we go.
Out there, Joe.
All right, so this is the Minnesota Vikings calling you. Oh,
okay.
In division. So let's see how this goes, right? So I'm Rick Spielman. I'm the GM of the Vikings, and I'm offering the Lions Kirk Cousins for Jared Goff, and we will give you this year's and next year's first round picks.
Wow.
Hold on, you're offering Goff?
He wants you're trading Goff for Cousins and then swapping.
They get my next 2 first round picks.
So 2021, 2022.
Correct.
You really don't like Kirk Cousins in the short time that he's been there.
And Jared Goff. Just
Holy
to clarify that, Jared Goff.
First of all, Jared Goff, the one who got just kicked out, by Sean McVay. That's the one, that guy who said he was going to pipe his wife or whatever.
Doesn't have anything to do with that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not why you want him,
Cousins' wife is disappointed.
Now, as the fact that I'm a Lions fan, Joe's a Vikings fan, that makes this a whole nother level of trade. And the fact that Kirk Cousins is from Michigan State and he's, is kind of somewhat local, I do like that.
Are you? Sorry.
But I just can't. I think that's enough on your end to trade.
Oh my God! What else? I'm shocked and appalled. I am blown away. That
when I first heard it, I was first like, I'm all aboard. But the fact that Jared Goff hasn't even played a game in Detroit, regardless of anything going on,
it doesn't matter. like 2 first round picks. If you would have said 1 first round pick in his contract, I would have taken it. 2 first round
Trey
picks.
Lance is also on the phone about that.
I'm hanging up the phone. That offer's off the table. Done.
Oh God, am I the next person? I will take that feed. Oh, I am. Okay, sorry. You get your phone ready.
Okay, so in true to form, Lions are screwing up the draft apparently. Now, but historically, drafting wide receivers in the first round outside of Calvin Johnson has not done the Lions any
Millenaro.
It's not done the Lions favor. The fact there's 2 Bama wide receivers that are the top that are left, it's just hard to really pinpoint one, but I'm going to stick with Jalen Waddle out of Bama.
Okay. I am shocked. I've got to be 100% honest with you. I am shocked.
Me too.
Now, Joe.
Gosh.
I don't want to cheat this, but I'm the Carolina Panthers, and I don't have any inside sources of knowing that happened. The closest thing I might know is there might have been a phone call. That might be the only thing that I really know. Are you making a similar phone call at number 8
I'm not.
Oh, you son of a.
I
Okay.
bet you William Belichick would though.
What? Oh yeah.
I was ready to give Kirk Cousins within the division, but I'm not giving him the Panthers. No.
Okay. All right. What if I? Okay. You have to call me. I can't call you on this deal.
That's true.
The Panthers are also going to look at their phone though and see, because there's still Justin Fields out there. Trey Lance still has not gone. Are any of these quarterback-driven teams making the phone call? I don't have anyone besides Washington, and I don't know if I feel comfortable kind of trading with myself on this. Jerks.
He's
Okay.
like begging for trades, you know.
I because a lot of these teams I'm looking at, and really they don't need Justin Fields. I mean, they might take him, but they just signed your boy Darnold. They've got some other issues. I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought that might be the case. They need some help at the offensive tackle position, and I think that's what they're going to end up doing. So we're going to actually then go ahead, if nobody's going to call. We are going to actually try to
Wait, there's a late minute call. Hang
Oh,
on.
oh.
This
help.
happens on draft night.
Oh, yeah. It's like the war room.
All right, the Vikings
Hello?
finally pulled up their skirts.
Be
Here
cool.
they come.
Be cool.
All right. This is Rick Spielman again calling the Carolina Panthers.
Hey,
And
Rick.
he's offering you Kirk Cousins and a first round pick for Sam Darnold.
This year's first round pick.
This year's first round pick. So you'd move down from 8 to 14 and you'd give me Sam Darnold and you get Kirk Cousins.
Would you throw in a second round pick as well?
No.
I would take that deal. Yeah, in a heartbeat. So I will trade you for Kirk Cousins. And we are going to end up moving. Let's see, where are you at?
They're 14.
Okay, so at 14, I will make that pick. And you can have it. So you have that pick.
All right. And now the Vikings have the Panthers pick.
You are on the clock.
Okay. So with the 8th overall pick, the Vikings will take. Sorry, I forgot who I was taking. We will be taking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern.
That's who I was going to take if it makes you feel any better.
I would say that's a good move. That's a good move by both teams. I think you're getting good value for the offensive lineman in Minnesota, and then you're also getting value with picking up the extra pick or the extra player rather, or making the better player, I guess, out of
Better player to pick. You know, I'll take that. Good move. Good move. All right. Ironically, Joe, the Broncos are on the pick or on the clock now. Are they happy with lock?
So I do believe that the Broncos are on the very, very edge of giving up on Drew Lock. And so if they remain in this spot and Justin Fields is still available, I think this will be a pretty effortless pick for them. I think they'll take Justin Fields. And if nothing else, even if he doesn't start this year, it's going to push Drew Lock to see what they actually get out of him. And if nothing else, maybe he proves himself, they get a second round pick for him next year or something like that. But we'll take Justin Fields out of Ohio State.
Yeah. Who is New England, out of curiosity? Because I know that they were real high kind of on him.
I got him 15.
Okay. But still Trey Lance still out there. I'm waiting for kind of Chicago again to make that call. Okay, so let's see now. The Cowboys at 10 now in every single mock draft I've seen, and I mean almost. I've done 100 of these things at this point. I've seen them pick the same player, so I'm curious if that's what you're going to go with here.
Probably not because I haven't seen those same players.
Okay.
But they brought over the old Atlanta coach. His name is escaping me right now. Defensive coordinator, formerly of the Seahawks, Legion of Boom.
Salisbury?
Say it again?
You said Atlanta's old coach?
Yeah, with the beard.
Okay. Dan Reeves.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Brought Dan Quinn over to be their defensive coordinator, so I think you start on defense. There's a bunch of defensive talent right there.
The They sucked at defense. They were
Yeah,
giving like 28 points a game or something like that.
It's going to be Caleb Farley for me, the number one corner right now on my rankings, or the rankings
Ooh, okay.
from the Draft Network. Long guy, I believe, with a variety of some cover skills. So add a defensive piece there for the Dan Quinn defense.
Okay, say his name again.
Caleb Farley.
Caleb Farley.
Hokey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking for him on my list here. I have him lower on my on the Arnold big board. I had other corners ahead of him, but I understand that most people are kind of going towards that long, and really the corner position has been more valued over the past few years, even over kind of like the defensive front, kind of making a change for it, really since the Seattle, kind of started that trend.
Give me tall, big, and long, and I don't need you to man up necessarily, but just, be smart, play the ball.
Right, seems to be working. All right, I believe it's the Giants on the board. What are we going to, Danny Dimes, is he getting some help, or are we going to put some help in?
I was looking at that for some help, but they did sign Kenny Galladay, and they got Kyle Rudolph they signed, and they got John Ross. Now, John Ross, was a 2-3 guy maybe, but I really was looking through the edges, and I just don't see enough linemen that really would qualify for that pick. And I'm sticking to Patrick Surtain the second.
Yeah. That's who I thought was going to go right before. I was shocked he didn't go to Dallas.
So I think especially if that's the way it happens, they were eyeballing him anyway. So if the Dallas Cowboys don't pick him, they will definitely pick him up at number 11.
All right, that's a strong pick. Okay, all right, that puts me on the clock. So I am representing the Eagles, and I think this is fallen kind of their way. I would also, with once again Trey Lance being out there, I'm still listening to my phone, but we're seeing kind of that slide that we've seen with like the Brady Quinns, and other quarterbacks we've kind of seen in the past who've been hyped up real high and just not quite going where they think of. So I will listen to my phone, but if not, the Eagles have a lot of needs. They lost a lot of wide receiver help. So if I'm not getting any phone calls, and it doesn't appear so, am I getting any? Negative? Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and select Devonta Smith out of Alabama to try to help out with that receiving core and try to give Jalen Hurts some help.
That's an NFL wide receiver who's been playing in college the last couple of years.
No kidding. Okay. Have you seen the comparison, like their wide receiver class over the last couple of years?
Unbelievable.
And them in LSU, just the amount of monsters that are coming out of there. That also, I don't know, does that help someone like a Mac Jones? I mean, I obviously helped him in our draft. I mean, but for you guys, just kind of a quick timeout, does that help you? Or does that hurt you knowing that he's been surrounded by that much friggin' talent?
Well, I think the difference with the Bama receivers is they have size and speed. The LSU guys usually aren't as big as the Bama receivers, but they have the speed.
I don't know. They're all monsters. I mean, I don't know if I don't have all those numbers and stuff in front of me, but I know Bama in general is just a huge team, but any of those SEC teams are enormous. I'm just blown away with how much talent they have. I mean, we're talking about several of their players. I mean, I don't know, there might be eight Alabama guys going within the first 2 rounds at least, ridiculous. All right. Up next, the Chargers are on the clock. Interesting situation with them. They found their franchise quarterback, it looks like. If they can't trade for a medical staff, so they don't puncture the lung of one of their quarterbacks, they either need to protect them or give them a weapon, it looks like. What do you think that's going to be?
Well, I was looking at it. I think they're doing a good job. They did a nice job in free agency. They added Corey Linsley. They added Teo Pucci on the offensive line. I think they could go there. But I think you'd be looking at
Ring.
Hello.
Hi. This is Jason Wright, Washington. And I see that you guys are up next on the board. And I would like to know if you would be interested in moving down just a couple picks down to 19. And would you be willing to do that? And I would also give you a 3rd round pick this year and a 3rd round pick next year to move down several spots.
You had me at hello.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll do that. A 3rd round pick, I think that's good value. It's good day 2 value, and it's going to let me get another, impact player. And I don't think I lose a ton of value. I think there's still some nice players that we like at 19. So yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Now, I told myself this entire time that I think Trey Lance is an absolute bust. I also told myself that they have much bigger needs, including at offensive tackle and linebacker, where I was more looking at that. However, just seeing him fall, kind of almost within striking distance, and knowing that the Patriots are 2 picks away, and even the Raiders, just a couple picks away, those look to be kind of threats for those picks. And Washington is going to have their fan base go absolutely bonkers. And actually, you're going to find out too that was not Jason Wright calling you. In fact, that was Dan Snyder calling you, saying that he's looking to sell some tickets, and they're going to collect Trey Lance for the Washington football team.
For that pick, that's a nice move by you.
Thank you, sir.
But by jumping New England, I mean, you got to be real tight-lipped about that around campus. Don't let Uncle Bill up in Foxborough find out about that, because he'll double jump you.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, you will now have the 19th pick. Let's see. The Vikings were on the clock. I believe that's me now.
It is.
Carolina Panthers.
Okay, and I forgot who I traded with
The
you.
Panthers. The Panthers are now on the clock at 14.
The Panthers are on the clock at 14, and they're actually pretty okay with it, the way that everything's falling out. They still have a lot of needs out there. The Panthers are going to be. God, I think the Panthers are actually going to go. The Panthers are going to select offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. The offensive tackle.
To protect Kirk Cousins.
To protect Kirk Cousins and make sure he has. Yeah, Kirk, is immediately calling them. And I was looking at a couple other players there, but I think that guy's a little bit underrated. He only gave up like 6 hurries the entire year, no sacks, no hits on the quarterback. Kind of a cool story. Another guy I'd say in real life, I think Washington will probably take a look at him. Some of the linebackers in that first round. All right, up next, the Patriots. Mr. Enck is your
No,
guy.
I do feel that the Patriots are going to try and trade up for one of those quarterbacks. And I agree with you about the whole Trey Lance being kind of a questionable bust, possibly. But I figure if there's any potential bust to go somewhere, it would be New England. And Belichick's system could try and solve that problem. But being that this draft went the way it went, the Patriots are going to try and fill their cornerback needs and get J.C. Horn out of South Carolina.
Yeah, I actually had him going next if you didn't. So, but I will say, gentlemen, we are a little bit on the clock here. So I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. The Cardinals are on the clock, and because they couldn't get the
Ring.
What's that?
I said ring.
Oh, hello, hi.
Yeah, this is the New York Jets at number 23. I'm wondering if you'd be interested in this year's 3rd round pick with the Arizona Cardinals for number 16 and number 23 in this year's 3rd round for number 16.
I would do it for number 23 in this year's 2nd round.
How about next year's 2nd round, the latter of the two?
How about give me this year's 3rd and next year's 2nd?
All right,
done. Okay. Thank you, sir. Pleasure doing business with you. Also enjoy our suite, because I guarantee they're going to have another like rockin' place to pick their war room again this year. I know he and Sean McVay are going to try to outdo each other. All right.
With the number 16 pick of the 2021 NFL football draft, the New York Jets select Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive guard from University of Southern California.
Good for you. That's a good pick. Could be a steal of the draft, to be honest with you. The Raiders are up.
All right. The Raiders have been anxious to pick the whole time. This linebacker, they need help in a lot of places, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is probably going to be a pretty effortless pick if he lands down at that out of Notre Dame. Actually from the high school that my wife teaches at right now, so I was obligated to pick him if he was still on the board at this time. So the linebacker Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa from Notre Dame to the Raiders.
Oh my God. How many times did you practice that?
6.
Okay. You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. I'm so proud of you. All right. Dolphins. Honestly, Dolphins, once again, just raking it in. I tell you what, good for them, by the way, because they traded all those picks and they just got absolutely pissed on by everybody in the league saying they were giving up.
Yep.
Now they've got a solid core and all these picks. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I really like moving down again, but absent anybody having interest with that, I'm going to look at Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State. I really like an off ball. I think he's somebody that could probably play both on the line and off the ball a little bit. But that seems like another piece for the Robert Flores defense, so we're going to go there.
Yeah.
Diving in.
I was going to call you from Washington from that Jets to try to move up and get Parsons, to be quite honest with you. So good move on that. We might be making a phone call later. It might be one of those like after like next day deals.
Sure.
But I would absolutely be interested. I think ultimately that's who they're looking at.
With LA Chargers, I'm at number 19. New guy in San Diego, defensive guy from LA Rams coming across the town. Going to take Kwity Paye, the edge out of Michigan. Edge presence, somebody that's going to be a disruptor early on the pass rush for LA Chargers. Almost called him San Diego.
Solid first edge guy off the board. I mean, that's pretty impressive this late in the game. Okay, Bears, Andy.
I think the Bears, of course, another quarterback team. I really think these moves and the quarterback picks are really going to drive this first round. There's so many teams that need a quarterback, and there's a good amount of talent at quarterback. But again, the way that this has fallen so far, there's not really much available at quarterback.
Yeah,
So
going Trask or Mon,
Yeah, really. And they're going to go ahead and do the Oklahoma State offensive tackle, Taven Jenkins, to kind of fill that need for the Bears.
at least protect them, whoever that person is. Okay. All right, the Colts, Joe.
All right. So the Colts are obviously going to be all about how Carson Wentz either recovers or doesn't this year. They've got an excellent roster, excellent coach, excellent GM. And so we're going to go ahead. They've got their running back last year. They got an excellent offensive line. We're going to go with Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
High talent guy, mid-tier program. Give him one more weapon, one less excuse if Carson Wentz can't get there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I am up. All right, it looks like the Titans are going to look for any kind of edge rusher that they can in this. And I believe that Jalen Phillips is still available from Miami. And that's who they are going to take. And they are going to be thrilled with the fact that he has fallen that far to them, and gives them a little bit more presence. I know Clowney left, and they need some help in several places. They did add Bud Dupree, who I think is going to be a big help. But I do think ultimately that kind of value at edge where they need put some more pressure on the quarterback. And they're pretty set on offense, handing the ball off to Henry. The Jets again are on the clock, or the Jets, I'm sorry, not on the clock. We traded back, didn't we?
The Arizona Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. And they are pissed about that pick. But they're going to be okay with it because they're also going to go for an edge rusher, and they're going to get your boy Aziz out of Georgia. And I can't even pronounce Ojulari.
Sure.
Yeah, my boy. And they're going to select him as the Bulldogs, and they're going to be very happy with that. The Steelers, a lot of rumors that they're going to select a running back with this. Is that?
And that's the first thing I landed on when I was checking this out, that, yeah, they need an offensive tackle, but I also think that by that point where their pick is, that's not a need they're going to trade up for necessarily. And the two running backs on the board, Travis, out of Clemson, but I think Najee Harris out of Alabama has that feel of what a Pittsburgh Steelers running back is gonna handle it. They're gonna do Najee Harris out of Alabama.
Are they ever going to select a quarterback to replace Ben? It seems like they've done it, and he gets pissed.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be too late by the time. He's going to somehow have 2 years with a really subpar quarterback and finally get another quarterback after that. But he's, 40 years old almost at this point?
Yeah. All right, Jacksonville.
Right. So Jacksonville is another team that needs a running back. So since Travis Etienne is fallen into our lap, we are going to take him and be happy about it. give him an instant weapon, especially since we got Trevor Lawrence. That's his buddy from Clemson. We're going to go ahead and take him, and they can be roommates and have a good time learning under Urban Meyer.
That's a solid move. That kind of worked out well for them.
Hey, Andy, can you help me out? Would you take a number 20 with Chicago?
Chicago, I took Tavon Jenkins, all offensive tackle.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns had a pretty enticing defense.
5 Cleveland Browns, by the way.
Say it again.
They were an 11-5 Cleveland Browns.
How about it? Yeah. There's a lot of things going on here. Oh, excuse me, including that.
They added John Johnson, Troy Hill, Malik Jackson already. I mean, they've already added a lot of them.
I don't see a lot that I like here, to be honest. I think it's another strong trade down situation. Absent that, I like a linebacker right out here at Ohio State. Keep it in state. Allowed to let them do some work behind those big uglies up front. Now they got Jadeveon Clowney. They got the other guy on the other side, 95.
The other guy.
Yeah, other guy. So Baron Browning at Ohio State. Miles Garrett. There we go.
That boy.
Senility is no fun, friend.
Now the Ravens have the first of 2 of their first round picks now. With their recent trade. Enck. A lot of Baltimore fans are guessing wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be a wide receiver at this point with what's left in this, and it's a tough decision between Minnesota's Bateman or LSU's Marshall Jr. Just based on the history of the school, I'm going to go ahead and do Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU.
Smart.
That's good because Bateman's off the board already. So.
Yeah, he'd be very surprised. All right, Jacksonville again. Or I'm sorry, no, I apologize. The Saints. All right, the Saints have so many needs, and I told you guys beforehand, I cannot believe they're going into this with only Taysom Hill at quarterback. And there is a guy on the board. I mean, there's actually people like Traven Morig out of TCU, who's the safety, but they need so much help at corner that I'm actually going to have them select Asante Samuel Jr. To try to get some help that way.
Just like his dad. Awesome.
Yeah, following dad's footsteps. Packers, Joe.
All right.
And we're back. Thank you for that little commercial break. We had some technical difficulties, but we are back on the clock. Joe, you are up with your pick, I believe, when we last signed off. And who are you going with here?
I got the Packers here on the clock at number 29. So they have been neglecting Aaron Rodgers last year, several years going now. I'm just going to give him a weapon, and I'm not sure what kind of weapon he might be, but I'm going to give him Rondale Moore out of Purdue. He's probably one of the top 5 athletes in this draft class. And so if nothing else, Aaron Rodgers will be like, okay, at least they gave me a weapon.
Yeah.
Right. And didn't try to replace me with a reach in the first round. So I'm going Rondale Moore out of Purdue.
Strong. No.
The only team from New York.
Yeah.
There's a definite needed edge that was pointed out. Sean McDermott, defensive guy. They have some nice pieces on offense. They were able to score a ton of points. They got.
That's not the issue, right?
I almost called him JP Lossman. The senility is real.
Yeah, they lost a couple receivers in Brown or Roberts and John Brown. But they added Emmanuel Sanders.
They got Stephon Diggs.
Mitch Trubisky too. I'm surprised by that, but that's
there's not a ton of skill position that I'm really excited about at this point in time. So I'm going to take on my rankings again from Draft Network. The best remaining edge, and that's Gregory Rousseau out of Miami.
Nice.
Say his name one more time.
Gregory Rousseau.
Rousseau. Got it.
Okay. All right, Andy, I'm going to make a phone. I'm sorry, this is Baltimore, or you're Baltimore now at this point. I'm actually going to be making a phone call to you from Washington.
Okay, what do you got for me?
Okay, I picked up a couple third-round picks. I am willing to give you my second-round pick in either a third-round pick this year or a third-round pick next year, whatever your choice is. But essentially a second-rounder and a third-rounder. And I'd like to move myself back into this draft if that's possible.
So repeat that again. Go through it one more time.
I will give you my second-round pick. I believe it's like 52.
Yeah.
And then I will give you a third-round pick either in this year's draft or I will give it in next year's draft if you are willing to take that deal.
Yeah, I'll take that deal next year for the third run next year.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Then Washington is going to actually look to get some safety help. Trayvon Moehrig out of TCU is available. I have him ranked as my 16th overall player. Not a lot of people, I guess, are familiar with him, but Washington does need some help at safety, and they would like to move up and get him before the Bucs have a chance to take best player available. And that being said, the Bucs are on the board. They have pretty much retained almost everybody from their team, and so they're able to get some help. And I believe he's still on the board, and maybe I missed it, but is Christian Barmore still available? Did anyone pick him? I don't believe so.
Nope.
Then that's who they are going to take. And he was my number 21 ranked player. And they get some extra help at defensive tackle, which is one of the small areas of need that they actually might have. Gentlemen, we just completed our very first mock draft. There's a Kirk Cousins trade. That was probably the biggest move, and a little surprised by that. I have to be honest with you, as a Washington fan, I am not thrilled with the moves that I made. I felt like a Washington fan because I told myself I was going to stay put at 19. I was going to grab a linebacker. There's going to be plenty of options available. Maybe trade back, even get some late round picks. It's a deep draft, but no, I pulled a Washington and traded up twice. So that's pretty par for the course. So good for me. But we did get Trey Lance and we did get a solid safety help. So the offensive and defensive coordinators are happy. I'm not sure, who's thrilled, but we'll see. What are your thoughts? Now we just, like I said, we completed it. Is there anybody in this draft that you're very high on? Enck.
Yeah, I was surprised and, think of maybe not quite a steal.
It'd be a whole lot better if you were off mute.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then you also have to listen to my emphysema or whatever I'm working on here. I'm pretty stoked about the Jets getting a pretty highly touted interior offensive line. They're pretty solid on the tackles side to be able to get objectively one of the top two guards, if not top guard.
Yeah.
Is strong. The jury's out on Wilson. We talked. I tried not to carry on too much about this early on when we were picking, just in the interest of time. But God, you look back at like how teams, the professionals, have done drafts over the years and how terrible they are at picking quarterbacks. And it's just such a crapshoot. You're probably more likely to bust a quarterback than you are to get a champion. It's something like the stats are crazy. Just like the last 8 or so years, like the number one quarterbacks, and like I think 3 of them have ever gone to the playoffs or something obscene like that.
Yeah, right.
That's probably a little bit hyperbole, but it's a very low number, so it's a total crapshoot. I really hope that Wilson is successful. I think he could be successful.
He's got all the tools to do it, but
he does.
That doesn't translate necessarily. I mean,
his size really bothers me. Somebody tweeted something that I apologize. I can't credit them because I'm stupid and didn't pay attention. But no quarterback under 100 or 200 and something pounds has ever really been quote unquote successful. And it's just like,
I don't know if I believe that.
That's a concern. He's 176
What was
pounds.
Doug Flutie? Like, Flutie Flakes were healthy.
Maybe it was like first round quarterbacks or something.
Either way, modern era or something like that. I mean, I know the guys.
Something that it's just like.
What's Kyler Murray? What's he rocking now?
Probably 210 or so.
Yeah, just.
I mean, the jury's still out on where he's at.
Good. He's good.
Yeah. But I mean, what's he gonna do? I was thinking about earlier, like just kind of thinking of this, preparing for this mentally, and there's been talk about Miami picking a quarterback, like if Lance slips or if Fields slips about sliding up, and like
Come on.
that's a weird thing for me to think about, right? And like I understand Arizona did this a couple years ago, right? They took Rosen and
Rosen.
come back and they
Joe
take Murray. I don't think Murray gets drafted number 1 overall or doesn't go to the Cardinals if the previous coaching staff is still in place, right? I think it was because the beauteous one comes in and is taking over the guy from Texas. Cliff Kingsbury comes in. He's going to take his guy that fits what he's going to do. I think if that doesn't happen, I don't think you have that. So I think
air raid offense.
Yeah, I think that the idea like this is going to be a new trend, and you just stockpile quarterbacks and just trades. I think that's a little bit premature.
Do you think the Alabama quarterbacks are just overrated in general?
I think Alabama is very similar to New England, where they've had the system they have. They can put less talented people at quarterback and have their stats seem much better than they really are. Not to take anything away from the quarterbacks that come out of it, but that's kind of what's been going on.
I mean, I can't think of I mean, Tua was supposed to be kind of like the next thing.
But what's his face, McCullough or whatever, was the first Alabama quarterback.
AJ McCarron. Yeah.
McCarron.
Yeah.
McCarron.
I mean, that's honestly who I thought of too. And he had I would say a successful career. Yeah, I mean, he's been around. I mean, there was a while there where he was a coveted free agent. I mean, I know he was a backup or whatever, but I mean, he had starting potential. Was that with the Jets? No, I believe so.
I'm confusing my Alabama quarterbacks with the Jets because they had Greg McElroy for a few minutes.
Oh, that's right, McElroy time. I remember that.
Yeah, and that goes back a little bit. I mean, I think McCarron. I remember McCarron being a coveted free agent. I believe that was more of a product of the market in March relative.
He ended up in Cincinnati or somewhere. I can't remember. Or was
because I think he played a couple games after somebody got hurt.
One of the USC boys.
Yeah, Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
I don't think he wasn't there that long ago. I don't know. I
Yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I am curious to see what happens. I think I've said it a couple of times. I think this draft is a little bit deeper than what people are kind of anticipating. I think there's a lot of offensive tackles out there who could at least play in the league. I do think there is a lot of wide receiver depth, and I think there's a lot of linebacker depth. Going back to the quarterbacks, I've always been terrible at this. I mean, I've called you every kind of couple of years, I guess, with the Jets fans and been like, I think it's a good pick. You know, Hackenberg, good move. You know, I think it's a steal. You know,
I want to talk about Christian Hackenberg for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, number 1 recruit coming out of high school. You know, he did great at Penn State when he was under Bill O'Brien. He's going to be a stud. You know, and I also thought Mr. Newton was going to do nothing. He threw for 400 yards his first 2 games. So that shows me what I know, competed for a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo is one out there too, that I am convinced is going to get moved. Did you guys see the Kyle Shanahan saying, like, we don't even know if we're going to be alive in a couple of days?
Yeah, that was pretty ominous, wasn't it?
Yeah. Good God.
Did Shanahan just predict that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to expire in the next couple of days?
We don't have to worry about that contract. Like, God bless. I can't guarantee anything. It was such a smart aleck like answer, but it was like, okay, let's assume we're all still here in 6 days. Then do you think he's going to be traded? And I do. I'm not quite sure where. It might be a surprise team. It might be someone like a Minnesota. Now that would be surprising because apparently Shanahan, is very, smitten with Kirk Cousins from their time in Washington. So that might be, Joe, that might be your dream come true.
Nobody's smitten with Kirk Cousins.
Mrs. Cousins is not smitten with Kirk.
Yeah, not even his kids. I know. Yeah.
He'll drive a 25 minivan or whatever the heck it was. They showed up.
This is a different side of you, by the way. Like, you are normally like very like professional with all this stuff. I didn't realize you had so much vitriol towards Kirk Cousins. Can I ask, we had him in Washington. I get it. But like, what is it? I mean, his numbers aren't bad.
Yeah. I mean, so I think if anybody was being real about the Vikings, they've had an excellent roster the last few years. Like, I mean,
that window's closing fast too because of it. They've
had a top 5 running back. They've had several key position players, like solid defense all around, and like if you insert a top 10 quarterback into their roster, I mean, they're a Super Bowl contender with that roster, and Kirk Cousins, he's not bad. but he puts us right in the middle of no man's land where the Vikings always are. They're a respectable team,
An 8-8.
But
Yeah.
8-8, maybe 10-6 on a good year, maybe 7-9 like they were last year. But that's just, that's where the Vikings are, and they need to actually pull the trigger on a gutsy move at quarterback if they want.
Would you take Jimmy Garoppolo?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, real? Okay. That's I thought you would. Like if they called for, so we got Jimmy G, but we'll take Kirk Cousins just pretty much straight up.
I would rather take a high upside guy in the draft than take a relatively known quantity.
Would you take a Kyle Trask out of Florida, like in the second round?
I would take him in the second round if I still had Kirk Cousins and I hadn't traded him away, but I wouldn't like take him in place of Kirk Cousins right now. So, but that would be a guy that I would like to have him sit on the bench. I just, Kirk Cousins is what he is. He's a quality pro. He's a quality starter in the league, but he's maybe top 15 at best, but absolutely not top 10. One of those guys. So, and the top 10 are the only ones that win Super Bowls. So.
Joe, you nailed it for me in terms of Jimmy Garoppolo, and like to answer that question from Eric, like when we were talking about it in the chat yesterday and like our text chat, like that's exactly the same sentiment, right? I'd rather take some upside and some potential and like that rookie contract with somebody I don't know too much about and can kind of shape on my own versus a guy that I've seen a good bit of and has done some nice things, but also done some not nice things.
And guys that get injured a lot too don't get injured less as their careers go on too. And I'd be wary of that, wary of the contract and everything else. And so I appreciate your support on that.
That rookie contract that you're talking about, I think, and I've talked about this with you guys before, teams like Baltimore are going to have to make a real decision with like Lamar Jackson, because I don't know if I would pay him, because I think the real teams that seem to win consistently, and I know that Patrick Mahomes just got, his giant contract, and he took him back to the Super Bowl essentially by himself. But if you're truly going to build a team, it's about value and finding value, and quarterbacks, quite frankly, seem to be overvalued, in my opinion, especially if they've done something. I go back to thinking about like when Russell Wilson was with Seattle. I think about Patrick Mahomes, even
Joe Flacco
before he got his giant contract, kind of all these teams who were able to have a good quarterback on a good budget. And then they were kind of essentially able to be, surrounded by better pieces. And then once they get their contracts, the teams just can't quite make up the difference. The quarterback might get better. He might even live up to his contract. But the rest of the team can't really, they just don't have the financials. Even Tom Brady, for all those years took all those discounts just to ensure that his team was surrounded with talent. He felt like there was more value there. And I think that played a large part in that team always being competitive every single year. And even last year, I know that he took a large contract, but they had a lot of talent and were able to put it together. So I think those big hits, those cap number hits, and it overvalues them.
So I'm glad that you said that. Like that brings up something that I read today, and this could probably be a whole another conversation another day. But Bucky Brooks from the NFL Network, former scout, he's
your boy,
draft analyst with NFL Network right now. He was I saw a quote from him talking about like treating your quarterback room as if you were a collegiate program, and you graduate guys after their rookie contract, right? And it's just like maintaining that value. So like, and again, depending on like, I think the conversation was also around like Justin Fields. If for some reason Justin Fields is in the mid to late 20s, does somebody like Baltimore who has to make that decision on Lamar in the next year or so, essentially, do they go and do that?
And if I'm Chicago, I trade for Lamar Jackson right now.
Oh, tomorrow, yeah.
They're in that spot.
You get those options, and it's like you value that, but then you're still running that smash mouth football. You're still focusing on the run. You're still playing really good defense, and you're building pieces around that. It was an interesting take, and like I said, it's probably a conversation for another day. But
I like that. Yeah, I'd love to have that conversation. I mean, because I think that's fair, and I think that's a really good way of putting it. Now, the idea of hitting on that many rookie quarterbacks,
really difficult.
That's a really difficult task, but it's going to be a whole lot easier to hit if they're surrounded. I mean, how many of these guys have we seen? I mean, I think about like David Carr. I mean, heck, both the Carr guys. When they were selected, I mean, you see all these like number one Baker Mayfield, all these guys who were selected number 1 overall because they were the best quarterback. I mean,
Right.
there's millions of dollars put into that scouting, and they are the best quarterback, but they don't succeed. And I think that's a large part because they have so much further. They just have such a gap of talent, that's not around them.
Yeah. The other kind of flaw in that is that if it goes well, right, you're picking in the very late stages of round 1 all the time. So you're left with the table scraps or a trade up or, the Geno Smiths or the Jimmy Clausens or the Christian Hackenbergs of the world, right? Like those guys that are highly touted, but like
I noticed there was a trend, I think, with all those guys.
the only thing that was salvageable about the Jets selecting Geno Smith is that it wasn't in the first round. Like, because that's like I literally had
Hackenberg. Who was the first one?
Jimmy Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen. Was he? No, he was never a Jet.
No. He was in Carolina, and then like at the local Costco.
I was petrified that he was going to be selected by Washington. I believe I put my my sportsmanship, my allegiance up on eBay. Like I had it ready to go if Jimmy Clausen was selected. I was prepared. I could not stand that kid. I mean, now he seems like a great analyst and that kind of stuff, and maybe I got it wrong. I was also a little bit more dramatic in my 20s, but I was in my 30s. You knew me, Well, gentlemen, I honestly, it was our longest episode. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to edit this thing. But we just completed our first draft. I love, the analysis afterwards. I'd love to kind of get into it. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. And I'm sure it's going to run exactly like how ours did, so really no need to watch. But if you got anything left in your drink or your soup, here's to you guys, and you guys have a great week. Okay. See you guys.